Hello, gorgeous. I almost said good morning, but it's not morning. It's so dark outside right now. I'm recording this episode at night. Hello, hi, how you doing? It's your girl, Coach T, Trudie German, and I'm the host of Empowering Women in Menopause. Around here, we talk all things menopause, perimenopause. Nothing is off limit. I am in 44, no, 45. Every time I say my age, it is a shock to me because it's like, how did I get here so fast? It's a blessing, but how did I get here so fast? And I help women going through perimenopause navigate this change with ease and grace. If this is something that you are interested looking to do, definitely shoot me an email at Trudie, Trudie, at trainwithtrudie.com. My email address is going to be in the links. In this week's episode, I want to talk about intermittent fasting. And I really want to talk about it because so many women over 40 going through perimenopause is doing it. They're looking to do it. And if you're currently doing it or looking to do it, I want to equip you with the knowledge so you can make an educated decision. Because everyone on the gram seems to be doing it doesn't mean you should be doing it. All right, so grab your water, grab your pen and paper, whatever it is you need, and let's jump into this episode. So, before we get into this week's episode, let's get some housekeeping things out the way. Could you do me a favor if you haven't done so as yet? Could you rate and review my podcast, please? If you listen to at least one episode, you doing that would really help me and help other women. I record these podcast episodes because I genuinely want to help you. I want to help women. And by you rating and reviewing, Apple will sense that and push it out to more women. If left to my own device, I could talk about perimenopause, postmenopause, and menopause all day. All day, because this is something that I genuinely love learning about and love sharing with women. And I think part of the reason is we all have these bodies we've been in for 40 plus years. And the reality is, we do not know our bodies. And I say that not to insult you, but because it's the reality. We have these bodies. No one taught us about our bodies. No one taught how it should be functioning, what's right, what's wrong. A lot of us, because we have certain issues and it's common, we think it's not normal. I'm 45 and I feel like it's just in the last 4 to 5 years I'm fully understanding this body that I have had for so long. And I want to do the same with you. This is why I record these podcast episodes, for you to realize, hey, the way I'm feeling through perimenopause, how crappy I am feeling. Like some of the times when women comment on my posts, how they're feeling on my Instagram post, how they're feeling, or when they slide in my DM to let me know how they're feeling, I'm thinking, women are really suffering and struggling. And I remember when I hit perimenopause, and just for a few months, about less than a year, I was struggling, and I'm like, ain't no way we're supposed to be carrying on like this. Like, this isn't life. But anyway, kind of went off tangent. So, our bodies tell us a lot. It's just that we do not understand it. No one taught us. And we also can't depend on our doctors, because we go to our doctors, a lot of them aren't even trained on our bodies. So, they're just kind of rushing us, and then they give us a pill to mask the symptoms. We go away frustrated, all of that. So let's talk about intermittent fasting, right? And please do not forget to rate and review the podcasts, right? Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, hey boo, hey girl, how you doing? Let's talk about intermittent fasting. First, let's define it. I do have my notes here, so if you hear clicking and paperwork, that's just me. I wanted to make sure I did not miss anything. And I find that having notes here help to keep me on track because I will go astray. First of all, I love to define things because I want to make sure that we are on the same page. So, what is IF or intermittent fasting? It's basically you eat during a specific time frame or window, and then you don't eat during another specific time frame. For example, one of the pretty popular ones could be 12 on, 12 off, meaning you eat for 12 hours, for example, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Then you have nothing to eat from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. the next day. So that's 12 and 12. You can do it whenever. You can do from 12 noon to 12 a.m., whatever, as long as it's 12 hours. We also have 18 on, 6 off, where you're fasting for 18 hours, eating for 6. Then we have the opposite, 16 on, 8 off. You get the drill. Then 20 on, 4 off. And these have become very popular over the last few years. Now, do they work? So back up a bit. The difference, it's just a different type of dieting. And if you know me, you know I don't rock with dieting. I'm not an advocate of dieting because I'll talk about that later. But what happens when you're intermittent fasting, you're not restricted by what you're eating. You're simply restricted by the time you're eating. So it's not like, oh, you can't have carbs, no this, no that. It's or limit your calories to 1,000 to 1,500, nothing like that. It's just you eat within a specific time frame and then you don't eat. Does it work? Yes, it does work. Do not get me wrong. Yes, it does work. But who does it work for? That is the question. It definitely works for men, regardless of their age. Why? Because they have a higher testosterone level than us. I remember when I did one-on-one personal training, I dreaded when husband and wives or boyfriend and girlfriends would start training together because the women never understand how comes they're eating clean, following the plan, working out, and their husbands, their man is just doing whatever, having the pizza, the beer, and they're dropping fat faster. And I always explain that's because they have a higher testosterone level than us. That's why they have more muscle, so they burn fat faster. So because they have a higher testosterone level than us women, they're able to handle that stress differently. And the thing is, a lot of these studies that are showing intermittent fasting work, they were done on men, not women, right? So I want you to also take that into consideration. And the next set of people that intermittent fasting works on are younger people. Now, I know we're in our 40s, we're still young, but I'm talking about the people like in their 20s or early 30s, 35 and older. It also work on them because once again, they have their hormones can handle their hormones are a bit more balanced then, so they can handle more stress than we can, because as we age, especially start going through perimenopause, we cannot and do not handle stress the same way. So that's why you'll find that, hey, things that I didn't used to let bother me, they bother me so easily now. This is why we get a bit more overwhelmed with life and our daily routine, because our bodies are changing, our hormones are changing. We cannot handle stress the same way. And younger people have more insulin sensitivity. So that's another reason why it works great on them. One of the reasons why it doesn't work Well, for women over 40 going through perimenopause, most of us are already stressed. We're stressed from life, we're stressed, you're stressed from parenting, your parents who probably don't listen, parents, you're parenting your children who are also not listening. You are dealing with high stressful jobs, whether you've changed careers, you've gotten a promotion, you are also concerned about finances, you are concerned about your children who may be adults or gone away for school, you're concerned about work, you're stressed about so many different things, and you're already stressed. And then you start intermittent fasting, not realizing that this also adds stress to your body. And you're like, how comes everyone else is doing intermittent fasting and it's working for them, and you may have even be like, oh, it worked for me 10, 15 years ago, but now it's not working. That is because your body does not like it. The reality is there's just a small percent of women who are over 40 going through perimenopause that this may work for. If your body is already stressed, it's not going to work for you. And please do not try it. I have women come to me, they were doing intermittent fasting for years and it was working, and they stopped and they didn't know what to do. So they didn't stop. Sorry, they didn't stop. They didn't stop because they didn't know what to do, because they thought that, hey, it worked years ago, it's going to work now. So what do? They start off with 12. It's not working. Now they start shortening the amount of time they're eating, expecting it to work, but it's having the adverse reactions. So when you go into intermittent fasting as a woman over 40 already going through perimenopause, a few things gonna happen. You're gonna lose muscles. It's gonna mess up your metabolism, stress and cortisol. And you know how much I talk about stress, how much I talk about cortisol. I already have a few podcasts that I dove deeper into on stress and cortisol. We're gonna make sure we link them below. You become insulin sensitive, there's hormone imbalance, and you're now more prone to high cholesterol. I think this podcast is going to be longer than I intended to, but hey, it is what it is. This is for your own good. This is for your health. So let's jump into it. Now, let's talk about the muscle mass and metabolism. Estrogen, I know a lot of us, when we hear about estrogen, we simply think about it as a stress hormone. It is not only a stress hormone. Estrogen does so many other things in our bodies, and some of them is it helps us to build muscles. This is why when we're going through perimenopause, it seems like we got to work twice as hard to put on muscles or lose the fat. That's because estrogen is dropping, and estrogen helps us to build and maintain muscle. It also impacts our estrogen level, right? So once again, with the decline in estrogen, we find that we're more tired. You're like, my lifestyle hasn't changed, so why am I consistently tired? Why am I feeling this, tired and lethargic, and not much has changed? You feel that not much have changed, but a lot has changed because your estrogen level is dropping as your body prepare for menopause. Estrogen also helps with bone density. It helps with skin and hair health. So that's another thing. A lot of women complain about that. Going through perimenopause, their skin's drier, their hair is drier. It also helps with vaginal health. We're getting older, so estrogen does line our uterus, so that's why sometimes sex may be painful, or we may experience more dryness. So with the drop in estrogen, a lot of things are changing, and this is another reason why intermittent fasting for women over 40 is not a good thing. Muscles, so estrogen is dropping naturally, which it's supposed to do. The problem is, as I've said in a previous podcast episode, our high stressful lifestyle, our stressful environment have our estrogen level dropping too fast. So if estrogen helps with muscle building and repairing muscle, if if estrogen is dropping naturally, we're going to lose muscles naturally and faster. And then what happens is when we go with intermittent fasting, this also helps us to lose muscle. So all that muscle we're losing is turning into fat, right? So this is another reason why women over 40 going through perimenopause should not be doing intermittent fasting if you are already stressed. Now, with this decrease in estrogen, you're also, as I mentioned before, you're losing muscles, right? You're losing muscles, your metabolism is dropping. You're losing muscle, your metabolism is dropping, you're not burning enough calories, even when you're at rest. So you can't burn calories, you can't lose fat, all because you're dropping in muscles and now you're trying to intermittent fasting. You don't realize how intermittent fasting stresses your body. So you're already stressed and you start doing all of this thing, then of course, this is why you're not losing fat. This is why you're getting frustrated because you're like, I'm eating less, but how comes I'm getting fatter? And it's right around the midsection because, as I've mentioned before, stress is increasing. When stress increases, cortisol receptors are going up. You have more cortisol receptors around your stomach. So it's just like stress is going up, cortisol is going up. Fat is getting comfy and comfier on your stomach. So intermittent fasting also affects your metabolism, right? We have our thyroid, which is the gland. Our thyroid is responsible for metabolism. If our thyroid's imbalanced, we may experience hyper. If it's over, so hyper is too much, hypo is under. We don't want either one of those. We want our thyroid to be balanced. Therefore, it can help with our metabolism, right? So thyroid, it secretes T3 and T4, which helps to regulate our metabolism. It also helps to give us energy and help keep our hormones balanced. But for this podcast, we're going to focus on metabolism because you want your metabolism to be functioning properly. When your metabolism is functioning properly, you will not have a problem burning fat. If your thyroid is not functioning properly, you will have a problem burning fat. You will start storing fat. Right? What happens sometimes is when you're fasting, it can reduce your thyroid function, T3, because that's the one that's responsible for metabolism. If it affects that, that can lead to slow metabolism, which is you not losing fat no matter what you're doing, how hard you're trying. So you see the effect that intermittent fasting can have on you when you're trying to lose belly fat if you're already stressed, which most of you are. Some of you know you're stressed, some don't even realize it, right? So you definitely don't want to be doing intermittent fasting because you don't want it messing up your metabolism. Stress and cortisol. I have spoken about stress and cortisol on just about every podcast episode that I've done. And as I mentioned before, I have done specific podcast episode dedicated strictly to stress and one strictly to cortisol. I'm not going to go too deep into that here because I would be here talking for a long time. I'm going to link those episodes below and you can definitely go and check it out. When you are doing intermittent fasting, when you're not eating for an extended period of time, that is adding stress to your body, right? Now, you need to be eating throughout the day because you do not want your cortisol level to remain high. An increase in cortisol level also means inflammation is going to increase, bloat, indigestion, poor energy, sleep, weight gain, all of those things are going to increase. You're going to lose muscles because when your body is in a high stress state, you cannot build muscles. when your body is in a high stress state, no matter how clean you're eating, your body's not absorbing and breaking down the nutrients. When your body is in a high stress state, you are going to be you're going to be storing fat as opposed to burning it. As I said, I'm not going to go too much into sleep and cortisol here because I have done that in a few episodes. However, do not do intermittent fasting if you're already struggling to lose belly fat, because you're going to see the opposite of what you want. Now, I spoke briefly about insulin sensitivity. When you're in intermittent fasting during perimenopause, your blood sugar levels are affected. Here's how that works. So, insulin is secreted by the pancreas, right? Now, this helps to regulate blood sugar levels and keep your energy balanced throughout the day. I am sure by now you've realized you're tired throughout the day. Come certain time of the day, you're hitting the wall, you're praying to stay awake. 1 p.m., 3 p.m., you are reaching for that caffeine fix, right? That is because your blood sugar is not balanced. Now, here's what's going on. Your primary source of energy comes from carbs. Your primary source of energy comes from carbs. There's a reason I repeated that, because so many women are doing this no and low carb diet, hoping to lose fat during perimenopause. You notice I keep saying during perimenopause because that's who you are and that's what's happening here. This isn't for the 20-year-old. They can do whatever and still see results. And you may have been that 20 or early 30-year-old who did these things and saw the results, but now you're doing those same things and you're struggling. This is what's going on. So carb is the primary source of energy. So when you have foods with carbs, they're broken down into glucose, also known as sugar, which then enters your bloodstream. Then your pancreas releases insulin to help move the glucose from your blood into your cells, where it is either used for energy there or stored to be used later. Remember, if you don't have carbs, where are you going to get the energy from when you need it now? Or where you're going to get the energy from when you need it later. So this is another reason, I'm not an advocate of women over 40 doing intermittent fasting and working out, because where's your energy coming from so you can work out? Where's your energy coming from so you can lift weight? Where's your energy coming from so you can lift heavier weights to build muscle? If you do not have enough energy, you're going to be too tired to work out. If you're not eating enough carbs, you won't have energy later so you can lift. And you're already losing muscle mass during perimenopause because estrogen is dropping. You see the cycle here? I'm hoping you're seeing the cycle of what's happening and why this isn't for you. So when you're doing intermittent fasting, let's just say you're doing 18 hours where you're fasting and you're eating for 6. Within that 6 hours, you may be trying to cram as much food in as possible, but that's also not a good thing, because when you haven't eaten in a while and now you decide to just have everything one time, that is a lot of stress on your system at once. So now you start feeling bloated, your food's not being digested, you feel like crap, and you feel like, oh, I had too much of this to eat, and then tomorrow, oh, I'll make it up by shortening my window. That right there is also causing a hormonal imbalance. Now, you need to be eating steady throughout the day. You shouldn't be having all your meals early in the morning and then not eating for the rest of the day. You shouldn't be skipping breakfast and then you've been up since 6 and having your first meal till 12. That is keeping your cortisol level high, right? Now, This is when you start having imbalance in blood sugar level. Your energy starts to dip, your mood is dipping, you have cravings, you start craving sugar, you start craving salt, you start feeling moody, you start feeling anxious, you don't understand what's going on. This could be because you're doing intermittent fasting and you're doing this to lose belly fat and it's not happening. See what's happening here? I hope by now you realize why intermittent fasting is not for you. Another thing that happens or may happen, high cholesterol. So, estrogen helps to maintain healthy cholesterol levels as it keeps the bad cholesterol, LDL, low, and it keeps the good cholesterol, HDL, high. During perimenopause, of course, we already established that estrogen is dropping, and this may cause an increase in your bad cholesterol, which is the LDL, and this can increase your risk of course, high cholesterol and cardiovascular issues. So, why does this happen? Because during intermittent fasting, this can cause cortisol level, which is your stress hormone. Do you see how many times cortisol is coming up? Do you see how much stress is affecting you during perimenopause? So when you're doing intermittent fasting, especially for a prolonged period of time, cortisol level increases, which tells your liver to produce more cholesterol, right? Now, the increase in production of cholesterol is used to maintain balance of energy. So that's something else. You do not want high cholesterol levels during perimenopause because that's another set of issues you may be on the verge of, like cardiovascular issues, heart attack, stroke, stuff like that. I mean, we already have enough dealing with. Why add more to it, right? Right? Why add more to it? And that's because during intermittent fasting, your body may start to store more fat as opposed to burn it. And when you're storing more fat, you're increasing the production of cholesterol, and now your energy is out of balance. Next up, we have hormonal imbalance. I know, I'm almost finished. I told you, I did have a lot to say, right? Now, during perimenopause, we've already established that hormones are fluctuating. There's a fluctuation in estrogen, progesterone, and they're naturally fluctuating. That happens. It's supposed to happen. But what's happening with a lot of us, it is fluctuating too fast, so that's causing problem. And it may be fluctuating too fast because of our stressful lifestyle. So with that natural fluctuation, and eventually they drop, you may start to experience symptoms like insomnia. So you can't sleep at night, you go to sleep, it takes you a long time to fall asleep. When you do fall asleep, you do not wake up throughout the night. That is because intermittent fasting may be stressing your body. If you're doing it when your body is stressed, cortisol goes up. When cortisol goes up, melatonin, which is your hormone that's responsible for sleep, goes down. Basically, you cannot have when cortisol high, melatonin will be non-existent. If melatonin is non-existent, sleep is not happening. This is another reason why you don't sleep throughout the night and you get up in the morning feeling cranky, moody, and itchy. So, in addition to you experiencing insomnia, hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, moodiness, all those common symptoms that so many women going through perimenopause experience, and I've said it before and I'll continue to say, even though they're common, they are not normal. We've been conditioned that common and normal is the same thing. This is why I have this podcast. This is why I create so much content for here and also for Instagram, because I have a platform and I am going to use it to help you, a woman going through perimenopause, so you can understand your body. I remember when I started, I felt so confused. It was like, this cannot be life. And my symptoms only lasted a few months. So I cannot imagine you women who are going through this for years. How are you functioning? You are just getting by. This is not life. We're taught that this is quote unquote normal, or doctors give us a pill, cover it up. No, 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 no. Why is it happening? These are some of the reasons. Sorry, I kind of went off. So as I said, you throw already a stressful life, your career, finances, personal life, you throw the stress of life, and then you add intermittent fasting, which adds more stress to your body. Those symptoms you're already experiencing, the blow, the indigestion, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the moodiness, the sugar cravings, the irritability, everything you're currently experiencing is going to be heightened, right? So there you are doing intermittent fasting, thinking that, hey, I'm going to lose belly fat. Fun. Turns out you're gaining more fat and you're feeling like crap. So what the flip is going on? I almost said something else. This is how passionate I am about helping you ladies. Something else that may happen to cause hormonal imbalance. Sorry, I touched on hormonal imbalance now. Something else that may happen is progesterone. So progesterone is the calming hormone, right? So a lot of women complain about feeling anxious and agitated during perimenopause. That's because the calming hormone progesterone is dropping. Eventually it's going to decline, but it's dropping so fast that your brain cannot catch up to it, and your brain and your hormones communicate with each other. So calming hormone progesterone is naturally declining during perimenopause. And what happens here is, what happens? Want to take a guess? When you are doing intermittent fasting, IF, whichever one, for an extended period of time, your body is stressed. When your body is stressed, cortisol level, which is the stress hormone, increases. When cortisol level is high, you cannot and will not produce progesterone. So this is another reason you may be feeling anxious, you're agitated, your heart is beating fast, you can't explain why. You go to your doctor, they're not trained, so what do? They put you on antidepressant. But hold on, you're just masking the problem. We haven't gotten to the root of it. They're not asking what's going on in life. And even if they're asking, they are not trained, so they don't realize. They're just trained, give you a prescription, put a band-aid over it, carry on, live. Then when that's not working, you go back to the doctor, they give you a higher dose or a different medication, but they still have not gotten to the root of the problem. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just I'm kind of animated while I'm doing this. But I want you ladies to fully understand what is going on with your body so you can know what to do and what not to do. When I work with women, I tell them this. I'm like, listen, I am giving you the guide. I am equipping you. Do with it as you will. Now I'm telling you what to do and what not to do. If you want to keep doing what you're doing, baby, and feel like crap, you cannot say you didn't know. Right? So with the production, when cortisol, as I said, when cortisol is high, production of progesterone, which is the calming hormone, is low. What does this do? Lead to an increase in anxiety, moodiness, agitation, insomnia. We see what's going on here. Do we see what's going on here, boo? I don't know why I'm whispering. Next up with the hormone imbalance is blood sugar. And I've kind of touched in this before when I touched on insulin, but I just kind of wanted to get you to understand a bit more what may be going on when you're doing when you're doing intermittent fasting during perimenopause, how it's not only having you gain belly fat instead of losing it, it's also heightening your other perimenopausal symptoms. Like, always remember this: the belly fat, the hot flashes, the moodiness, the insomnia, the bloat, the indigestion, those are all symptoms. They're not the problem. Those are the symptoms. So, why are you experiencing those symptoms? What is the underlying issue as to why those symptoms are happening? This is what I'm helping you to do, to identify. It could be a lot of things. It could be just this one, but this is why I want you to listen to these podcast episodes. But anyway, oh yeah, this one's longer than I expected. Blood sugar. Blood sugar is also harder to maintain when estrogen and progesterone are in progesterone is imbalanced. We just spoke about why there may be imbalance and how intermittent fasting affects this because of the stress it places on your body. And this may lead to a rise and dip in energy, mood, cravings, and irritability, right? So if blood sugar isn't balanced, you may become sensitive to insulin and have you feeling tired and increase belly fat. So I was going to title this, Should You Do Intermittent Fasting or Not? But I'm like, let me come out the gate swinging and let you know exactly why you should not be doing intermittent fasting as a woman over 40 going through perimenopause. What should you be doing instead? You should be eating. You should be eating throughout the day. Now, if you're like, Trudie, I can't eat throughout the day because I'm not hungry, then girl, that is another problem. That means your hormones are imbalanced. And remember, hormone imbalance, a few things may cause it. I do have a program starting in a few days. The email to get on the waiting list, I'm going to put the link down in below. We are starting the first week in October. If you listen to this after the first week in October and the link has expired, my email address will be there. Shoot me an email and let me know you would like to work with me and we can take it from there. I know I share a lot of information here and I'm giving you a lot of things to do. I am aware of that. And it can feel overwhelming because you're like, where do I start? What do I do? This is why I'm here. This is why I provide coaching. This is why I have this new program starting the week of October 1st. I want to help you, ladies. I genuinely want to help you. I have conversations with a few of you. I hear your pain. I feel some of your pain because, as I said, some of these symptoms I experienced for a limited amount of time and I could hardly function. So I cannot imagine what it's like for you. Still have to be a wife, still have to be a mom, still have to do everything and be everything to everyone while you are feeling like crap, while you are pouring from an empty bottle. And let me tell you something, you may be able to pour from the empty bottle still for now, but if you do not get this under control, that empty bottle you will not be able to pour from. So let me wrap up what you should be doing instead of intermittent fasting. So instead of intermittent fasting, you should be eating throughout the day. You should be eating every few hours. You want to make sure you have carbs. Carbs is important. Please do not listen to these 20-something-year-old influencers that look like a stick and all they do is eat a avocado toast or sing kumbaya and eat granola all day. And I'm not insulting them. They pop up in my timeline and it irks me. Leave the intermittent fasting to them. They're not over 40. They're not feeling what we felt. They're not going through what we've gone through. They'll get their time. But stop listening to them. If you're doing intermittent fasting and it's not working for you, baby, it ain't for you. Your body cannot handle it, right? Eat every 3 to 4 hours. You need carbs. Carbs help to bring your cortisol level down. You need lean protein with each meal. Lean protein helps to keep you full. Lean protein helps to keep your estrogen level in check, even though it's declining, but it's not declining as fast. You need healthy fat. Your brain needs it, right? You need You need your micronutrients, right? So please do not diet. Eat a variety of food. Do not get up and have the same thing to eat day in and day out, because that will lead to an imbalance in nutrients. You may start having too much of certain nutrients and not enough. So if you want some help with this, definitely get on the waiting list. If the waiting list is closed by the time you listen to this podcast episode, go ahead and shoot me an email at Trudie@trainwithtrudie.com. And Trudie is spelled Trudie. All right, this was much longer than I expected. And hey, if you know someone, a lady going through perimenopause, who's doing intermittent fasting and she's struggling to lose belly fat, share this episode with her. All right, until next time, have a fabulous one, gorgeous.